Yo, it's your boy Premonitions PR3, number 3, where the letter E supposed to be. Third eye open, that's why I see what they can't see. And we back with another video on our Third Eye Talks Hoops channel. Look, before I go forward and do anything, I gotta make sure I show love, appreciation to every single person who's been watching, commenting, liking, subscribing, sharing. Like I said, the content's gonna be consistent, the content's gonna be fire. Let's not waste no more time and jump into today's video where we're going to look at some trades that the Third Eye would like to see in the upcoming NBA season 2024-2025. Let's jump into our very first trade, which involves a multiple-time All-Star. Some people at one point was considering him a fringe superstar, going to a young up-and-coming team in the league, and that's a trade between the Atlanta Hawks and the Orlando Magic, in which the Atlanta Hawks will receive Jonathan Isaac, Jalen Suggs, Jet Howard, a first-round pick from Denver, a first-round pick from Orlando, as well as a 2028 protected first-round pick. And the Orlando Magic will receive Trae Young and Bruno Fernando. Now, a couple caveats to this trade. Two things have to happen. One, the Orlando Magic need to accept the team option on Jalen Suggs, easy enough. And it can't happen until after January because Jonathan Isaac did just sign an extension. But why does this trade make sense for both teams? First, for Orlando. Reality. Orlando has failed to build a contender around Trae Young. They don't seem to know what to do as far as fitting the pieces. They had that one impromptu run to the Eastern Conference Finals, but since then it's been middling and downhill. They missed from the DeJounte Murray trade. There have been tons of trade rumblings about Trae Young. They just haven't pulled the trigger. It is time. Atlanta, you're not doing anything with Trae Young. It's time to move on, get what you can get, and actually begin to rebuild, hopefully around a player that you can draft that you actually know how to build around. Why does this make sense for Orlando? As great as Trae Young is, his skill set makes it challenging to build around him. You need to have a certain type of roster, and that is the roster that the Orlando Magic have. They have tons of versatile young forwards, Paolo Banchero, Franz Wagner. They got a versatile big man in Wendell Carter. They just signed one of the best, most consistent perimeter defenders in Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. So they have tons of defenders who can hide Trae Young's deficiencies. The one weakness Orlando has is getting buckets and playmaking. That is what Trae Young does. You cannot question that. He can run a pick and roll. He can set up his teammates. And when he gets hot, he can get buckets. Look, Atlanta's not going anywhere with Trae Young. Can't keep doing the same thing over and over again. And Orlando, if they get Trae Young with Paolo Banchero, with Franz Wagner, with that defense to back him up, and you can really unleash Trae Young, that would really make the Magic serious contenders. I would love to see that trade go down between the Orlando Magic and the Atlanta Hawks. Next trade we're going to look at, a guy, once again, like I keep saying, has top 25 talent, but he just can't stay there. But we sending him to the Big Easy with another big boy. We got Jimmy Butler coming from the Miami Heat, going to the New Orleans Pelicans. The full trade. The New Orleans Pelicans would receive Jimmy Butler, Duncan Robinson, and Khalil Ware. The Miami Heat would receive Brandon Ingram, CJ McCollum, a Milwaukee first-round pick, as well as a protected first-round pick from New Orleans. First, why do you make this trade if you're the Heat? Look, you don't need the third eye to know the relationship between Jimmy Butler and the Heat's probably about to come to an end. Jimmy Butler put out that he no longer wants to sign an extension. Pat Riley has already commented on Jimmy Butler's availability and the Heat's hesitation to give him that money. The last thing you want to do is lose a superstar player for nothing. With this trade, you're getting back multiple first-round picks. You're getting back a veteran guard in C.J. McCollum. And you're also getting a look at Brandon Ingram. Look, McCollum can play with Bam Adebayo, who would officially assume the role as the best player on that team. And you get a one-year look at Brandon Ingram, a guy who has been a 20-point-per-game scorer multiple times, and just see what he can do. Why does this trade make sense for the New Orleans Pelicans? First and foremost, you're getting Jimmy Butler. You're getting a guy that when he's fully healthy has top 15 NBA player talent and a guy who's a proven playoff performer. Now, the question is health. And for New Orleans, it's going to be kind of tough because now you're going into the season relying on two players, Jimmy Butler and Zion Williamson, who have not fully been healthy. But look, sometimes you got to risk it for the biscuit. Last year, Zion Williamson played the most games he's played since he entered the NBA. Jimmy Butler is going into his free agent year, so he should be as motivated as ever. And if you have a healthy Jimmy Butler, a healthy Zion Williamson, you are a contender in the West. Along with adding DeJounte Murray, once again, talent wins. And when you have an opportunity to get high-end talent, especially when you're not giving up a king's ransom, you have to take that opportunity in today's NBA. So I would love to see that trade between the New Orleans Pelicans and the Miami Heat. Next trade we're going to look at. We're going to look at a team that needs to pick a direction, and that direction is completely bottoming out. And then we're looking at a fringe contender who was a real contender, and they need to do something before they risk upsetting their superstar. And that's a trade between the Milwaukee Bucks and the Chicago Bulls. So in this trade, the Milwaukee Bucks receive Zach LaVine, Torrey Craig, Julian Phillips, Onarapi Bitton, and 2 first-round picks from the Chicago Bulls. The Bulls would receive Brook Lopez, Bobby Portis, Pat Connaughton, and Marchand Beauchamp. First, why does this trade make sense from a Chicago standpoint? Chicago needs to bottom out. And it's absolutely no secret that they've been trying to get rid of Zach LaVine all offseason. There's even been rumors that they're trying to attach a pick to dump him as just salary. They don't even want assets back. So they're clearly made the decision they want to bottom out, and they don't want anything to do with Zach LaVine. Why does this trade make sense for the Milwaukee Bucks? There is a saying. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. While I do expect some improvement from Damian Lillard, nobody has the Bucks ahead of the New York Knicks. Nobody has the Bucks ahead of the Philadelphia 76ers. And absolutely no one has them ahead of the Boston Celtics. Eventually what's going to happen is, in today's NBA, Giannis is going to start, maybe I should start thinking about asking my way out. Look, is the Zach LaVine trade a guarantee? Absolutely not. But when he is on, that man can get buckets. He has dropped 70 points in a game before. He is a threat to drop 40 anytime he steps on the court. I do acknowledge that a backcourt of Damian Lillard and a backcourt of Zach LaVine could potentially, would get cooked defensively. But the beautiful thing is you do have one of the most versatile defenders in Giannis Antetokounmpo, and they're also getting back a couple versatile forwards in Julian Phillips as well as Torrey Craig. Are they at the level of Bobby Portis, who I actually think would be the player that hurts Milwaukee the most to lose? No, but they're young, they're rangy, they're athletic. And look, sometimes you just have to risk it for the biscuit and try something. If Milwaukee went into a playoff series with Zach LaVine, Damian Lillard, Giannis Antetokounmpo, at least you know they got the firepower to compete. Does it guarantee them a win? No, but they have the puncher's chance. And right now, if you're Milwaukee, you cannot keep doing the same thing and risk upsetting Giannis and putting him in that situation where a year from now or two, he's looking around, thinking he has no chance to win, and he starts asking out. And that's what happens nowadays. So I think this trade makes sense for both teams, and I would love to see this trade go down between the Milwaukee Bucks and the Chicago Bulls. Final trade we're going to put our third eye on today involves a veteran superstar, just came off balling in the Olympics, going to a team that is an actual contender and leaving a pretender. That's a trade between the Phoenix Suns and the Minnesota Timberwolves. In this trade, the Phoenix Suns receive Karl Anthony Towns, Nickeil Alex, as well as a first-round draft pick. The Timberwolves receive Kevin Durant and Ryan Dunn. Why does this trade make sense from the Phoenix Suns standpoint? Talent, acquisition, as well as assets. Right now, the Suns are a pretender. They're not going to compete for a championship. They're strapped as far as the cap. They have no assets. Are either one of these players as good as Kevin Durant? Absolutely not. But we know the rule of trading a superstar, you never get fair value. But what they do get is another all-star caliber player who's a whole lot younger, who can also fit with Devin Booker, and they also get Nickeil, who's a versatile defender and has also improved his three-point percentage every single year since he's entered the league. And you get a first-round pick. Is it going to be a great first-round pick? No. But look, it's another asset, something that you could potentially use and hopefully, get lucky in the draft and get another great player, or at least another serviceable role player. The only assets that the Suns really have right now are Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. You don't trade Devin Booker, and you also don't want to be in a situation where after this year, with 1 year left on his contract, Kevin Durant is looking around like, yeah, trade me. Because we know how that goes. You will have to trade him, or he's going to make your life miserable. Why did that trade make sense for the Minnesota Timberwolves? You get Kevin Durant right now, you have 2 top 10 players in the NBA. That's hard to do in today's NBA. And they get along really, really well. And it would just be cool to see Anthony Edwards and Kevin Durant. Look, the NBA is about high-level talent. You roll a roster out there with 2 guys who are legit MVP candidates, Anthony Edwards, Kevin Durant. You still got the Defensive Player of the Year, Rudy Gobert. And you got Naz Reid. You still got Mike Conley. Look, title windows are not guaranteed to stay open for an extended period of time. If you have an opportunity to pair Kevin Durant with Anthony Edwards, you do it, no questions asked. So I would love to see this trade go down between the Phoenix Suns and the Minnesota Timberwolves. Hey, look, y'all already traded every other first-round pick y'all got if y'all Minnesota. What's one more first-round pick to give up to get one of the greatest players of all time and pair him with one of the greatest up-and-coming young superstars we have in the league in Anthony Edwards? To me, it's a no-brainer. So with that said, we're going to close out today's video. Look, did you agree with what the third eye sees? If you think I'm wrong, tell me why I'm right. Like, comment, subscribe. So next time, have a blessed one.